Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Championship Series, where the only thing brighter than the lights on that food truck are the lights on the stage as our players prepare for one last match. To finish off day one here in Austin, Texas, I'm your host, Nathanius, carrying you through our long first day, but don't worry, we've got more StarCraft. I'm joined by InControl's latest bullying target, Reed, a.k.a. Rapid Casting. How are you feeling today? Your first day doing our style of WCS over here.
You know, it's good to be back again, Nathanius. I had to pull that out at least once on the broadcast because if I change the way my voice sounds, I figured this out, then Jeff doesn't bully me as much. So as long as I sound like someone else, it confuses them.
Jeff's very simple.
Ironically, you guys are bullying me right now with your mentions of bully.
Get on that. Somebody needs to save you with a conveniently placed Reddit thread.
They don't do that. They don't do that for me. I'm on my own.
Where's the Help Jeff Reddit thread?
It's the old boys club, man. We made a few vows, and one of them was we would never receive aid from Reddit. We've lived up to it.
You don't blow that horn to call for aid. All right, well,
don't do it.
We've had quite a few matches, and our last one should be dynamite. Should be something more. We've had a lot of very one-sided series today. We're not gonna beat around the bush here. Of course, we will be getting into the round of 16 tomorrow, and then the finals and so forth. So the first day is usually where we have that, but this series, Kelazhur and ShoWTimE. You guys, we were looking at it on the desk before we got off at the end of the last segment. Kelazhur already beat ShoWTimE in this group 2-0. This is a rematch. So how do we feel about that?
Well, even just how we got here. Harsum going 0-4, getting bopped out there. Scarlet performing very well, so she advances. Harsum's out. That's a Dutchman, by the way. So Kevin, of course,
Rotterdam
send him some love on Twitter.
He was crying in the back of the green room.
It's a hard time for him.
Yeah.
But that means that we have Kelazhur and ShoWTimE for the elimination match, which is incredible. Kelazhur last year was tearing it up, and ShoWTimE. I guess that could kind of work.
He's not short.
If he loses this, anyway, ShoWTimE is on that short list of players. What I was trying to say, anyways, of people that could hit that gear and be dominant and win some of these tournaments and really give a run for the money for a player like a Serral. Yeah. Yet here we are against Kelazhur. Could be out.
Yeah, well, it was a discussion about his phenomenal performance at Leipzig earlier this year. But Kelazhur had the cool story of 2017. When we talk about the WCS Circuit, in 2016 it was Masa, was the foreign Terran that was doing well. But Kelazhur, he's the one that's got something to prove. We're going to have our players introduced on the stage. Smix ready to kick off the final series of the night.
Thank you very much, Nathanius. You are indeed correct. It's been a long day, but this last match is bound to be a good one. It's going to be Brazil versus Germany. Please welcome up on stage, Kelazhur and ShoWTimE.
ShoWTimE walking a little bit too in tune with that song for my liking, but this is going to be a heck of a match here. Rapid, if you had to give a meme for either one of these players, who would be Kelazhur? What's his meme?
What would be Kelazhur's meme?
Put you on the spot.
Well, I think there's always that the pigeon meme where the anime character looks up and sees something that's obviously not something and asks if that is what it is. And so Kelazhur might look up and see a WCS event and ask, is this Copa America? Because he does fairly well in that tournament. And he's going to show up here and see if he can do as well. I don't think it's going to be quite as likely. Obviously, ShoWTimE is a fantastic player, but he's been struggling a little bit today. He got 2-1 by Clem earlier on in Group Stage 3, and now we are much further along the bracket where things mean even more.
Yeah, but look at him.
He is an intimidating man to be approached by. He is very good, and he started off, I think, this year very well. A big story of 2017 was, where are the non-Korean Protosses other than Neeb? It was pretty much just Neeb versus Zergs, and Special being like, I'm almost there, but not really. And of course, the points were still spread around enough that we had those players make it to the end. But ShoWTimE has, as you pointed out, had a bit of a rough time in this tournament so far versus Terran. Is that a thing? Is that a general trend we're seeing in even matchups where Protoss is hurting a little bit? Was the Marauder revert too much?
No, I don't think we get to do that too much. It was kind of a double whammy of the new maps kind of came in. A lot of these Terran players are good Terran players. The kind of mark for if you went too far is if you're like, would Dark Side 142 come from? He's just like, I just make Marauders. And they're like, well, all right, maybe the balance patch went a little bit too far. So that's not the case.
Literally never heard of. Yeah.
Kelazhur is somebody that tore it up last year. Clem is just now hitting the age where he can even be here, but he's been very good for a while. So I don't think we get to throw it away quite that easily. I like this matchup on paper because, again, as we've said, this year is still up in the air, right? Like, nobody's had a bad year yet. Nobody's had a really good year yet. Kelazhur made a name for himself last year. ShoWTimE has been a household name for a while, but that consistency issue has been something we've been talking about. Well, one of these guys is going to advance further and start to kind of make that narrative for themselves.
Yeah, Kelazhur, of course, is a player that we saw last year start to really do well. Made it to the top 8 for all the tournaments in WCS last year. He did very, very well for himself and kind of took over that position that I was mentioning earlier that Masa had, where we're like, oh, is this the new non-Korean Terran Hope? And we know that Kelazhur, of course, has in his own regional, that competition against Special is very intense. So the Terran play there is good. Kelazhur has kind of always been overshadowed by Special, though. It'd be nice for him to kind of get that leg up on him.
It's going to be hard to do that. When you compare him to Special, I mean, this guy finished top 4 at Leipzig, so that comparison has always been one that I feel like Kelazhur, a couple of Copa Americas ago, he was able to come out on top, but it's just been a while. So when you look at South American Terrans, it just is a little bit special-sided. For Kelazhur, I think that on a good day, he could take out ShoWTimE, but overall, if you just look at straight-up results, ShoWTimE is kind of bouncing back. So I want to see what it looks like. Obviously, PVT is a very talked-about matchup with those Marauder changes you mentioned, so I don't know what it is going to look like on these new maps, so I guess we'll just have to find out.
Do you have any thoughts on which player you favor in this matchup? I feel like we're finally at a point where we could say that there's a reasonable chance either player could win now on stage. I
want to say ShoWTimE. He is just that kind of, like Kelazhur made a name for himself placing top 8, and that was good, but never, you know, didn't win one of the stops. In fact, only 2 people did. But never really like kind of tipping over into that real form of someone that can win.
He could do it, yeah.
ShoWTimE has done that. So, of course, on paper, that's the name here. But I got to agree a little bit with Rapid where it is a bit of the caster, like, we'll have to wait and see. But it kind of is a little 50-50 where we've already seen Clem was able to kind of clean up on ShoWTimE and beat him pretty handily. And then Kelazhur's been kind of, we haven't seen his matches so far. And we know when he picks up, he also plays really well from behind, by the way. And it's like 11 p.m., it's late. He's, you know, all these guys are really tired. Is that when Kelazhur just decides to destroy ShoWTimE and advance further? It might be.
I mean, it already happened to Snoot. This is a guy that has had the longest, hardest day of just about any player here. And finally, at the 11th hour, almost literally the 11th hour, he starts to really struggle. So this has been a very long day. Endurance definitely plays a part in that. So we're going to see what it looks like when 2 men are stretched to their limits.
This is it. We're at the end of the arc where the characters have been battling forever, and there's one final fight to see what else they have left in them.
But we're not. It's just day 1, my man.
Yeah, it's just day 1.
2 more days.
That's the messed up part about this, because they'll be doing that. They'll be doing that. What I said is it's like, you know,
you're like George R. Martin right now.
If it's a good show, you've got multiple arcs. I said it for, yeah, exactly. There you go. Boom. Thank you for covering me on that one, Jeff.
This is why I'm here. I'm the middle host. I'm like,
I appreciate that.
I'm supposed to make fun of a couple of the new guys, and then I'm supposed to help you out. And that's just kind of what I do here, man. That's what I do.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate that. It's good to have you guys here. Was there a matchup from today that you enjoyed the most prior to this one?
I'm going to be honest with you. So it was really cool seeing Clem come out and have that kind of coming out. But this is day 1 of WCS Austin, where it's a little bit of the, like, this is the build-up day. So, like Rapid was talking about, Snoot's tripping and falling. He's got Bly going on right now. If he can advance from that, then he gets to sleep and advance to day 2. That's amazing. But a lot of the stories are forming right now. The games...
Yeah.
Hey, do you watch these VODs?
It's been a lot of...
Do you watch these VODs?
You usually wait for day 2 or 3 in control.
Day 2 or 3 is the payoff.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You get to the brackets.
But you can't have day 2 or 3.
That's right. You do need a solid foundation to build everything off of as we look for more and more things to fill with. The players are just about getting ready, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you've been enjoying the show online and here in Austin, Texas, as we have 2 more days of StarCraft action to bring you for the WCS. We're looking to get that 2nd championship. And, yeah, any final thoughts on this before we get into it? Seems the players are just about ready.
Are they, though?
You're almost final thoughts.
My pre-final thoughts?
Actually, I'm going to cut you off. Ranch is ready. Let's get into it. It's going to be Kelazhur versus ShoWTimE.
Thank you very much, Nate. That was definitely some pretty interesting analysis. I think Roddy and I have our own thoughts about this match, but looks like it's about to get started. How's it going, Roddy?
It's good. It's been a long day of StarCraft, but I'm very excited for this one as we are looking at the main base of our Brazilian Terran players spawning in the left bottom side of a map that we didn't see a lot today. 16-bit. It is Kelazhur.
Spawning up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, the red Protoss player, finalist at WCS Leipzig. It is ShoWTimE.
You already said it there a little bit. I mean, obviously ShoWTimE is the bigger name, and ShoWTimE did make it to the finals of WCS Leipzig, but you can almost look at it from an other point of view. Can ShoWTimE actually defeat Kelazhur here? Because Kelazhur defeated him already in this group 2-0, and that's a big victory, and it's also not the first time that Kelazhur has done it. We already touched a little bit upon, previous year where Kelazhur took out ShoWTimE twice in Yon Chopping. And also, of course, there was this story last year at the end of the WCS season where, the big surprise was that ShoWTimE wasn't in the top 8. And the only way that ShoWTimE was still going to make it to the global finals is if he would have just straight up ended up winning Montreal. And he did win WCS Europe Challenger back then. So people were like, well, if he can win WCS Europe Challenger, maybe ShoWTimE can actually do what True did the year before. But guess who stopped him in Montreal? Kelazhur, once again. So
Kelagod, what a legend. And it's so funny. We were talking about this before. I know you and Pig were talking about this with Nate on the desk earlier, how Kelazhur has just sort of not been around. He had an honestly pretty disappointing performance for Kelazhur standards at WCS Leipzig, where he ended up losing to, I think it was ShoWTimE, and he also ended up losing to Nice and got knocked out of the tournament very early on in Group Stage 3. But after that, he just sort of disappeared. He kind of went off the map. As some people know, he was taking some trip to China. He was in the root house for a little bit. He was over in Florida with his family. And nobody really knew. And that's both bad, but also good because people don't really know what you've been up to, what your playstyle tendencies are, where ShoWTimE has been at the forefront of everyone's mind the past few months.
Yep, and of course Leipzig is already 4 or 5 months ago. That's not recent, so there is a good chance that this is a much better Kelazhur. Now we see this very quick. Reaper fast expand. He's gonna put that factory on that reactor. He's gonna start off with 2 Hellions. Now I'm a big fan of Hellion openings, but on a map like 16-bit, I have the feeling, unless you can maybe put him in a medevac, or maybe he's just gonna open up with only 2 Hellions, just try to suicide them in. If you get 3 or 4 probes, he's happy with it, and then follow it up with something else.
Yeah, I guess what's kind of interesting is that there isn't exactly a wall in over at the front of the main base ramp. But okay. Oh, okay. The Adept does get the scout out on these Hellions, and that's going to allow ShoWTimE enough time to kind of position his units over by the ramp, hold position them, and prevent the Hellions from running straight in unless there is that kind of dropped attempt.
This Adept is actually doing some serious work. That's a lot of damage on these Hellions already. One Hellion is very close to falling. Look at this Adept. Such a close fight. But in the end, everyone lives. It tells the tale.
Yeah, and ShoWTimE's going to be a lot happier with that kind of trade because that Adept will gain its shields back. Hellions going to have to go back home to get repaired. Ooh, nice snipe off with that Reaper. And even sees the Oracle. Oh, that was a great scout.
This is rough, though, for ShoWTimE because now if you end up losing one Adept, you're like, okay, I do really want to send my Oracle to the other side of the map because I want to know what's happening. On the other hand, you also don't want to ignore the Hellions completely because even when they're low on HP, they could still pose quite a threat. So right now, ShoWTimE has no idea what the Kelazhur is doing. Meanwhile, Kelazhur has a pretty good idea of what's happening on the other side of the map.
Oh, man. We see a lot just reactor Widowmines coming out. This has been one of the more recent metagame developments where you've just seen Terran players that say, I'm just going to make Widowmines, I'm going to keep making Widowmines, and then I'm just going to make a few more Widowmines. And a lot of Pros players have struggled dealing with this. Phoenix gets very low, but will it be finished off by anything?
Why did he unburrow the one on the left top side? I actually think there is a good... That Phoenix was pretty much locked in because on the right top side it couldn't get out, and on the left top side there was another mine as well. Now at least ShoWTimE knows there is a lot of mines, but just because you know doesn't necessarily mean you have the right amount of units to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes, especially in the traditional sense of Stargate openings, you'd say, oh, I'll lift up the Widowmine drop. Once it comes in, I'll lift up a Widowmine and pick it off. You can't do that when there are 8 Widowmines ready.
No, this is such a sick opening by Kelazhur, and indeed something we've seen a lot more in this matchup. I like what ShoWTimE is doing. He is spreading out those Phoenixes, but there isn't that much DPS. But you can also not be too focused on one medevac, because there is another medevac.
Oh my god. Kelazhur, are you kidding me? The perfect timing, the perfect situation. Is he actually going to be able to get that through? The Phoenixes are pulling back. They may still run into that medevac. And
but he can just burrow these mines, and then there is another medevac heading towards the main base. You want to unload these mines as quickly as possible. That's exactly what Kelazhur is doing here.
Oh my god, it keeps the medevac alive.
Yeah, but don't forget about the other medevac that's heading towards the main.
Oh, the Phoenixes, they're not pulling back right now, and ShoWTimE is just not reacting. Oh my god, he's going to lose his entire mineral line here. Oh, 16 workers go down.
Wow, he used the Hellions as well in the third base just to distract ShoWTimE a little bit there. What a fantastic opening here for Kelazhur.
Oh, he still has some of these Widowmines just sitting around. They're waiting until they're off cooldown so he can just re-burrow them and maybe get some more shots off. Oh, that Widowmine almost getting a shot off. This is just annoying for ShoWTimE to also have to try and clean up right now.
What happened with the other 4 mines? Did he put him back in the medevac and did that medevac end up dying?
It may have. It seems.
Phoenix goes down.
Oh, he missed. This is what happens. You miss one of those Widowmines and he gets a little bit more damage done on the Phoenix. Kills off one of them. Kelazhur has a third base behind this, and a Protoss on even workers with a Terran is never a comfortable spot for the Protoss.
No, it's absolutely not. Now, this is a very large map, so this doesn't necessarily mean that we can say, oh my god, ShoWTimE is down and out. He lost 16 probes. This is game over. We cannot ignore the fact that obviously 8 Widowmines and I believe 2 medevacs.
It's a big investment.
That is a big investment, so it's safe to say that Kelazhur needed to get a lot of damage done. But this is still an opening that you're okay with as a Terran player, especially if you are on 3 CCs, if you are very close to or even on workers. So Kelazhur is happy with this, but ShoWTimE is far from down and out.
Yeah, I just love the way that Kelazhur is playing, just because he's taking a lot of risks, because that is the true nature of Kelazhur, is not being afraid to take a few risks here and there. We end up seeing Blink on the way over here for ShoWTimE. Pretty typical stuff to see out of a pros player that wants to have that kind of defensive setup. And ShoWTimE, known for getting into the late game of all of the matchups and really feeling comfortable there.
Are you feeling Disruptors or Colossus here? With the amount of gateways, I would say Colossus. Yeah. But I actually wouldn't mind to see some Disruptors here as well, especially if your opponent is going very heavy on the Widowmines, which obviously it seems as Kelazhur is going to try to snipe that Oracle, but those Marines were quick, but they were not quick enough. So I guess Colossus makes sense here, but it's only single force. You have to be very careful with your Colossus.
You did get the +1 weapons also, which usually pairs better with the Colossus, but it's like you said, we actually have the second Robo on the way as well, so it's going to be that double production. Robotics Bay finishing up now, the Phoenix coming in, and it is going to be Colossus for now. So Blink, Stalker, and Colossus, very typical, very traditional composition for ShoWTimE.
And obviously Colossus are very good against very heavy mine compositions. You don't want to make too many Zealots at first. You don't want to rely on your Zealots winning the fight if they have to run into 7 or 8 mines, which we've seen before. These Phoenixes are going to do a good job in intercepting a couple of these reinforcements from Kelazhur, but that's still a big army. Can we take a look at the natural ShoWTimE? All right, with sentries, shield batteries, and even a stasis trap, he should be fine.
Yeah, that's a tough nut to crack, and I think that there are only 2 medevacs with that army for Kelazhur, so he doesn't really have the option to just pick up his whole army and go to the main base with a natural. He's got to at least commit some of his army over here, or at least stick around here. Nice bait out with the Stalkers and Blink, avoiding that Widowmine shot, but doesn't quite kill the Widowmine off, and it's going to be active for a little bit longer. Ooh, Blink not off cooldown for that.
Yeah, he got a good connection there. Actually picks up a Phoenix as well. Now, I truly wonder, I think there are a lot of Terrans who would immediately throw down a... Ooh, that's a risky drop, but you said he likes to play risky. There's cannons and stuff here as well.
Oh my god.
But it still kind of works out a little bit.
Yeah, he unloads everything successfully. He's going to be able to pick off some of these Phoenix as well. He's killing off a couple of the workers soon. Actually, he doesn't really get any of the workers. Now he's killing off some Stalkers, but
still good enough. I think that's still good enough. Yeah, if you're trading, especially if you're going up to 4 bases and with the style that Kelazhur wants to play, that's a good enough trade, because that Phoenix count is suddenly very low, which sets up future drops in this game.
How did ShoWTimE get a 4th during all this? The army has just been sitting there this whole time, but somehow he stuck out a probe and it's going up. I don't think Kelazhur realizes it. As he loses a lot of this bio, oh man, these Colossus are doing work.
But that's a painful fight, because +1 armor wasn't done yet, so you're looking at +2 bio versus 0 armored Protoss units. That's not a fight you see very often in this day and age in Terran versus Protoss.
Yeah, pretty decent trades there overall, but Kelazhur having to pull back, just regrouping, but that 4th base on the way, and Kelazhur has his own.
Yeah, I think that's the only big mistake that Kelazhur has made so far in the game. There's no way that Nexus should have been wiped in, and there's no way that he shouldn't have been able to get a cancel on it. Now, there is that second starport. Are we going to see a fusion core as well? Some Terran players love to just spam those Liberators with advanced ballistics, but Kelazhur is more of a player of like, let's just get an insane amount of bio units and let's just keep dropping. Now, I think the advanced ballistics way is safer and perhaps even better, but Kelazhur
is a risk taker, man.
Yeah, this is like his playstyle as well, so you can't really fault someone to playing to his own strengths.
Okay, the drop on the top left-hand side of the map is going undetected so far. And remember, that Phoenix count has been heavily dwindled.
Recall,
the army is so far on the map. Is he going to recall? He needs to if he's going to do it. It's got to be now, but he's getting his Warp and Stalkers. That should be enough with the shield battery there.
Yep, and with the cannon as well. Oh, good forward blink. Gets 2 medevacs very quickly. So ShoWTimE is actually going to take care of this quite fast.
Oh, maybe it's not enough.
He will still lose some Stalkers. I think with the cannon, you'll always be fine there in the end. You can warp in a few more units. Shield batteries and cannons are very, very, very good. I'm surprised that those mines are still getting so many connections against the Blink Stalkers.
Yeah, it's just so difficult to control when you have so many different engagements happening. Oh, Kelazhur retreats all the way back up into the ramp between his main and his 3rd base, so takes a lot of damage there. Now starts to move forward, but the beautiful force fields. Oh my god, couldn't have asked for better ones there. The Stalkers blinking forward, trying to pick off some of these Vikings, and the Colossus staying alive.
I think ShoWTimE should be very careful here, though, because this army of Kelazhur is very big. He's not running that hot anymore.
Oh, that Warp Prism is vulnerable.
Oh, he could go for the Prism here with the Vikings. That's exactly what Kelazhur does.
And he cancels some of the Warpins, but a lot of Zells still get out. This army is getting stinned up pretty heavily. Those medevacs don't have a lot of energy. The Viking count trying to go after those Colossus, but the damage is split up across all of them. All of them lost the shields. Is this going to be enough? Kelazhur storming forward. I think he's got it. He's got all of the Colossus. He's pushing ShoWTimE back.
That's a great fight for Kelazhur. He did lose 21 SCVs in the process, but this is a 4-base Terran, so you're okay with that. Well, he even has a 5th as well. That one is not into a planetary or orbital yet, but I think he's okay with cleaning up that army. Now I truly wonder, what is ShoWTimE gonna do? Are you just rebuilding that army? There's still a lot of Vikings left. Double Starport is already pumping out Vikings with +1 ship weapons as well.
Oh man, and Roddy, it's about the fact that Kelazhur is just making bio. And that does really well with the upgrades. When you have ShoWTimE's army that doesn't have those upgrades, he's relying on those high-tech units like the Colossus, and he just lost all of them. It's hard to replenish that. Kelazhur, if he takes a fast engagement very quickly and doesn't allow ShoWTimE time to rebuild, he's going to be in a great spot.
I think after losing all those Colossus, that would have been a perfect moment to start making disruptors, actually. Just make a bunch of Stalkers.
He's turn 1.
Yeah, okay, I think that's very smart, but I would love to see him do that a little bit faster, because then those 9-10 Vikings that Kelazhur has, they suddenly don't do that much anymore. But if you're like half and half, now ShoWTimE is getting all the splash damage. He's getting Storm, he's getting his first disruptors, but I still think that was a very, very painful fight.
Okay, Kelazhur's also been able to bounce back in that worker count. He was originally sitting down, I think, around 50 after losing 20 or so workers, but he's back up to 68. Very, very healthy count for how many bases he's on. And it seems like he's not really finding an opportunity to move across the map. His medevacs are so low on energy as well. And it does make things a little bit harder if he wants to tease that engagement. If he wants to go across the map.
I do feel this is the moment, though. If you're maxed out, and if you obviously don't go into goals, you don't go into advanced ballistics, you don't want to stay maxed out too long, because this is as strong as your army will ever be. As a Terran player, this is when you want to go forward, when you want to set up those Liberators that you have, maybe get a free volley with all these Vikings.
Gets one of the Colossus right there. The Zealots charging on forward. The Vikings obliterate the Colossus. Stalkers and Archons are not going to matter here. And the bio seems to just win out on the ground versus all the Zealots.
Yep, now multiple disruptors are on the way. One disruptor is there still in the mix that could potentially fight. Ooh. That's a very ballsy blink there by ShoWTimE, but Kelazhur does not punish him for it because of that disruptor.
Kelazhur has to be careful, though. He's stimming up his army repeatedly. His medevacs are not really healing up his army. So a lot of his army is in orange and yellow, but oh my god, he picks up a disruptor there. All the Colossus are gone. Liberator staging up. I think this is going to be his moment. He's sitting up 50 supply, and Kelazhur maybe on the verge of taking another game number 1.
This is typical Kelazhur. He just goes for it immediately. As soon as he maxed out, that was the perfect fight for him to take. ShoWTimE didn't want to fight yet because he was getting Storm. He was getting more disruptors, but Kelazhur didn't waste a single second. He gets that base, and that is a massive pickoff. Now he does have a fusion core, so he can start getting advanced ballistics, but there is no need for Kelazhur Kelazhur to go too far back. I know he was banking a lot of money, so maybe like a split second right now, get your macro in check, get the right upgrades, and then just go for it again. You don't want ShoWTimE to, you don't want to give ShoWTimE a chance back into this game.
Oh yeah, and you just look at this outside map, but we had our wonderful observer show us the south side where he already has a couple more bases coming on up, where ShoWTimE is saying, let me try and reestablish that fourth base that I had about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I think Kelazhur should probably just go. He does have a fusion core, so I don't understand why he doesn't start advanced ballistics, but maybe he's just forgetting about it. The biggest thing is that he's maxed out again, and he knows that if you don't have, you know, Ghost Liberator with advanced ballistics, you just want to fight, fight, fight. And that is something that Kelazhur is very good at. He doesn't waste time. Even if you sometimes take an awkward engagement, you just have to go for it, because this is your moment. When you're working with these units as a Terran player, you want to pressure the Protoss, and Kelazhur is very good at that. All
right, he's choking ShoWTimE out. No fourth base is going to be getting up on Kelazhur's watch. Liberators, even if they're getting picked off, they're buying some time. The Disruptor shots, they can really start to turn the tide of this battle for at least a little bit of ShoWTimE's favor.
Kelazhur is so crazy. He's just flying on all the Vikings. He's going for it. He's eating a couple of big shots, and there are shield batteries and cannons, so you have to be a little bit careful. But it seems like the Stalker count just isn't high enough anymore for ShoWTimE.
GG, Kelazhur takes the first game. Wow, and he's just showing us a little bit of maybe what was happening in that first series.
Yep, that's a very typical Kelazhur game. He doesn't play the same pace as a lot of those other Terrans. He doesn't really think ahead, where he's like, okay, I really need to start getting EMPs out. Like, no, Kelazhur is someone who loves to max out as quickly as possible, and he loves to trade. And that's why you see him make those crazy drops. Even if he knows that there are Phoenixes out on the map, he knows there are cannons and shield batteries, he doesn't care, because he knows with his units, he needs to fight, fight, fight. And I mean, he had an upgrade advantage for the majority of that game. And those are words we don't say very often when you talk about Protoss versus Terran.
Man, and you know, it really does come back to something. I heard Scarlet. Scarlet was describing Kelazhur and the way that he plays, and she said one of the coolest things about Kelazhur is he thinks so much about things from his opponent's perspective. He thinks, okay, when my opponent is positioning units over here or something, he's moving in for the attack, that means he's not going to be looking. So you know what? I actually can take a little bit of a risk and run things through, and even though it's a bit of a risk, he still says, you know what, sometimes it's going to be worth it, and that's when you punish your opponent.
I do think a very critical moment in that game as well is when ShoWTimE was pushing with his Colossus in that Prism, right? And I already thought that he was getting a little overeager. He had big upgrades on the way. He didn't have any real splash damage there. He didn't have, yeah, he had a couple of Colossus, but he didn't have Storm or Disruptors. And if there's already Vikings out, I think ShoWTimE truly underestimated the amount of Vikings that were out. I think he thought at best he's going to have 2 or 4 Vikings there, so he's going to have a very tough time picking off my Colossi. Well, that wasn't the case at all. Kelazhur was building Vikings very quickly, and then he suddenly had a beautiful engagement with 8-10 Vikings, and then suddenly those Colossus are sitting ducks there. The Stalkers can't blink forward because then they melt immediately. That was a beautiful fight, and after that, Kelazhur doesn't waste any time. Yeah, he may have lost a couple of SCVs, but he knew with the units that he had to go for it immediately. And the moment you take out that forward base of Protoss, I mean, yeah, then the game is yours.
Yeah, really, really solid punishment there at that moment from Kelazhur, where ShoWTimE, yeah, if he had maybe just sat back, he had already killed off some of those workers by that point. He had situated himself between the 3rd and 4th base for Kelazhur, so it would have also been awkward for Kelazhur to try and defend that 4th base if just even small groups of units moved over there. So, yeah, I see what you're saying.
The army of ShoWTimE looked very good there, but in the end, it wasn't that good, because it was just a bunch of Colossus, but without the Colossus, it was just a couple Zealots. It didn't have fantastic upgrades, by the way. The Stalkers didn't have fantastic upgrades. It was a few Sentries, but no Archons and also no Immortals, which means that Marauders can actually just stim forward and not die.
All right, well, we're going to be starting in game number 2 up on here on the top left-hand corner of the map. The blue Terran player setting up 1-0. It is Root Gaming's Kelazhur.
Slowly turning into a little bit of a nemesis of our Protoss in this game. As of course we're looking at the main base of that Protoss. He made it to the finals of WCS Leipzig, but right now he's in the danger zone. Can he turn things around and keep his dreams alive here in Austin? Give it up for ShoWTimE.
And this is the decider match. Only one of these players gets to move into the playoffs. And man, if Kelazhur is able to take one more game, he's going to say, you know what? You did this to me in Leipzig, I get to do it to you now.
In the same round as well, that round of 32.
Oh, man. It's been so... I'm a huge Kelazhur fan. I don't know if you guys can tell. I'm a little bit of a Kelazhur fan. I've been a fan of him since 2013 when he was just this young little Brazilian player who says, yeah, you know, I want to play in some of your North American events. I'm like, okay, cool. Oh, man, he's grown up so much since, and last year was a better year than ever for him. A lot of people were worried this year was not really going to turn out as great, but, man, this has already been a great start for him today.
Kelazhur's rise has always been fun to watch. I remember that he attended the Intel Extreme Masters in Sao Paulo in 2012 when he was still actually living in Brazil back then. He just came there as a local player. He had a great introduction to me where he said, like, yeah, I beat you on the ladder all the time. I was like, it's a pleasure to meet you,
That's
mate.
so funny. He's one of the nicest people ever. Do you know, like, for the first couple of years of his pro gaming career, he would coach, he would play in tournaments, and he said, you know what? I just give all of my money to my mom to help support my family because he had trouble, like, at the time, I think everything's a lot better now, but his family was running a shop. It had to close down because it wasn't doing well. He was just giving all of his money to his family to help support it. He's just such an awesome guy. So when you tell me something like Kelazhur came up to me, he was like, yeah, I beat him all the time. He was like, okay, that doesn't sound like Kelazhur.
No, but he later said, he's like, you know, in my mind, it sounded really different. The way it came out. But it's really cool to see how he went from your regular open bracket guy. Like, we have plenty of people coming out here to Austin to just compete for fun and they play on the ladder. Kelazhur was that type of player once upon a time. He just took his game to the next level. He kept practicing all those years. And I mean, obviously 2017 was his year. That year was by far the best year of his life. He made it to the global finals at the end of the year. That's a fantastic achievement for anyone in the foreign scene. And once again, now here he's looking good. In Leipzig, he didn't look great. Ooh, he's switching things up with that double Cyclone over here on Catalyst.
Double Cyclone coming out, and he's going to be up against a Blink Stalker opening.
Yeah, well, if ShoWTimE spots this, the first thing that ShoWTimE needs to do is get his shield battery in the natural. I have casted a few too many PVTs in my days where Protosses don't have a shield battery in the natural. And if you don't have a battery, well, unless you have the greatest kiting on planet Earth with your Stalkers, things can spiral out of control so damn quick.
Roddy, okay. Oh my god, the attack cancels before he sees what units pop out. He's building the wall over there, and Roddy, this might look a lot like Hellions if he's not really too sure about this.
He gets the battery. Where's that battery of ShoWTimE? Can we take a look at it?
Shield battery. Oh boy, okay.
Okay, that's in a good spot. For a second, I thought it was in the main base, but that was a pylon.
Okay.
So it seems like ShoWTimE has a good idea of what he's going up against.
The Reaper drew the Stalker and the Adept out over to the right-hand side of the map, so he wasn't going to see the Cyclones popping out immediately. Shield Battery about to finish up, but the Cyclones can get in right before the Shield Battery finishes up, maybe pick up one of these Stalkers.
That's a lot of damage. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of damage immediately. The Stalker goes down, and the other Stalker takes a lot of damage. That Shield
Battery
go
down as well.
Wow.
And the repair of this one Cyclone is just not going down.
And Hellions are about to show up as well.
Oh, a disaster for ShoWTimE right here. Warpgate just finishing up. He needs those units yesterday. And oh my god, all of these probes have gone down. The damage has been done, Roddy.
Oh, and that's a very ballsy warp, and that Stalker takes a lot of damage almost immediately.
He traps him. He traps him with the Hellions and the Reaper.
What a start here for Kelazhur. And don't forget, he's following this up with a very quick stim. Kelazhur doesn't have to win the game here. Oh my goodness, he has so many Hellions. That's a sick block. Amazing block, but ShoWTimE has already taken a tremendous amount of damage. He cancels his Robo, which I actually don't hate that much because he needs extra units.
Yeah, he warps in some Stalkers. He's going to be able to take care of most of these Hellions. How much damage will be done? 2 more workers, maybe 3. Just 2 more workers go down. So at the end, a really good hold at the end of the day for ShoWTimE, but this is the beginning that caused problems.
Yep. Just the moment that those Cyclones are able to fire at Stalkers, even if it's for half a second, it is so much damage. So ShoWTimE is going to be seriously committed to this Blink Stalker aggression, but Kelazhur read that very well, immediately throws up the bunker. As long as he keeps that bunker alive, he's even adding extra Cyclones, and with Stim like 75% done, guys, ShoWTimE is pretty much all in here. If ShoWTimE doesn't win with these Stalkers, this could very well be the end of his run in WCS Austin.
All right, Stalkers poking on forward. Blink going to be utilized to try and pick off some of these Hellions, but doesn't get either one of them.
ShoWTimE sees that bunker and he knows that that is bad news. Now he's going to find a couple of Cyclones. Oh my goodness, he blinks forward into Cyclones and a Marauder.
Oh my god, even the Hellions doing some good splash damage on these Stalkers. They're picking up a lot of the SCVs. He gets behind the wall, which funny enough does work out pretty well for ShoWTimE.
Stim is done though.
Oh man, this is going to get where it gets really dangerous. The Cyclones are really far away from finishing, but here we go. Kelazhur loads up everything over in the main base, and ShoWTimE is forced to blink out of the main. He has not done enough damage yet.
Oh, that may have looked cool and good, but that was actually very bad for ShoWTimE. He needed so much more than he got done in the end. He does pick up the Hellion, so that's nice, but he wasn't building probes for a solid minute and a half there. He was hoping to do a tremendous amount of damage there. Easily 15, 20 SCVs, maybe even get a tech lab that's researching Stim. None of that happened, and ShoWTimE is in a world of trouble in this game.
There's no transition point ready. There's no forges. There's no temple archives. There's nothing else coming out. It's just these stalkers and more than being warped in, and Adept being warped in. I assume for some high ground vision with the shade or something.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think he needs a miracle, but what kind of a miracle? Okay, Dark
Went behind Dark Shrine. A wise man once said, and okay, I thought for a moment the Adept would get in and block the starport from him and give some high ground vision, but no.
There's already a turret there as well. ShoWTimE knows it, but maybe he just wants to use that Dark Shrine to potentially buy time if that army marches to the other side of the map. What ShoWTimE needs right now is for Kelazhur to maybe be stubborn and load 2 medevacs full of bio units. And if he can somehow intercept, like, double drop and doesn't lose a single unit, then you could say ShoWTimE is back. But he's still
another missile turret coming up here for Kelazhur. I don't think he's going to do anything in the sword. I almost feel like the biggest danger here is that Kelazhur may say, okay, well, seriously, what are you doing behind this? And decides to scan and loses the energy, but he already has the missile turrets done.
And it all goes back to that Adept in the beginning of the game. You mentioned it, getting so close to spotting, which units came out of that factory.
It was half a second.
Yeah, less.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not quite the medevacs loaded up, but there is an empty base over here. The big question is ShoWTimE going to be trapping himself as Kelazhur can also pull back as long as he doesn't lose too many units here?
ShoWTimE could always recall as well. Is he going to blink? I would blink into the main base. That's exactly what he does. Did he shoot his own Stalker there? I think he did.
Maybe
he got a couple of Marauders, so this is good. He's buying a lot of time. The problem is there's still no real follow-up behind this.
Oh, I like this. Kelazhur is waiting to intercept these stalkers. I don't know if the force is big enough.
Yeah, I think it is with Stim and Marauders and the Cyclone there. ShoWTimE, oh my goodness. These stalkers are in so much trouble. They're all going to get picked off.
Oh man, the Cyclones, the Marauders, the Marines, they kill everything. ShoWTimE is down to 47 supply versus 106. Kelazhur can taste the playoffs right now.
This is his entire army. Those 3 Dark Templars.
This looks like one of my games, Roddy. This is what my army usually looks like.
Oh, he doesn't have Blink, so. Oh, he has with Sagas.
Oh, man, he's okay.
Hey, he killed the turret. That's kind of nice.
Okay, there's scans available, though, and the DTs are all clumped up together. They're just going for a home run. You go after the Marines. This is really smart. His combat shield's not there, so you can pick off quite a few, but at the end of the day, it's just not enough in all but one DT. No, even that DT gets picked off. GG. Kelazhur takes the series 2-0 second time today and moves on to the playoffs.
In typical Kelazhur fashion, hyper-aggressive. In game 1, the non-stop raids. And in game 2, it opens up with the Cyclones. Obviously, ShoWTimE a little bit unfortunate with that Adept scouting. Probably expecting Hellions there, but the double Cyclone, if you get a good start there, if you just get half a second of firing off on a Stalker, it becomes so freaking hard for a Protoss to hold there. Even if you have the battery, if one of your Stalkers is already low on HP, I mean, the Cyclones with that quick Hellion follow-up, great play by Kelazhur.
All right, we're going to head over to the main stage. The man himself who just made his way to the playoffs with Sue.
Thank you very much, Fear Dragon. Congratulations, Diego. You are moving on to the round of 16 here in Austin. Especially after Leipzig didn't go so well for you. Your road there ended in the round of 32. How good does it feel to have some redemption here in Austin?
It feels great. It's been a rough start to this year, but I'm glad I can finally get something going my way.
And interestingly enough, back when you were in Leipzig, the person that helped stop your road there was ShoWTimE. Back then, he took you down 2-1 in the round of 32. This time in Austin, you returned the favor, not just once, but twice. So what was different this time?
It feels like it was fate that put us against each other, because not only we played a lot last year, we also played in Leipzig, where he got his revenge on me, but turns out I got my revenge back again. And it feels great because after being crushed so many times this year in first rounds, I felt like, oh, maybe it was just a fluke last year. But I'm glad I was able to show that maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm back.
Well, of course, I know for a fact that you don't want to stop in the round of 16. Last year, you had so many amazing runs, always making it to that top 8 in the WCS. This year, of course, everyone's talking about Cyril, and of course, you have players like Need. Who are the players that you're personally looking out for?
I think probably Cyril is the strongest player this year. It's a pretty well-known fact. However, that makes me want to play him even more. So I'm looking forward to it if possible.
I respect that answer very much. Well, congratulations again. Best of luck in that round of 16. Let's head back to Nathanias to wrap up day 1.
And so Kelazhur closing out tonight's show with some phenomenal micro pressure and control here against ShoWTimE and some fun strategies cleaning house.
Yeah, he just looked good. He kind of seals the deal on today being a very lopsided day, but if you look at Kelazhur versus ShoWTimE, I think you don't expect lopsided, but it was kind of fun to hear him say that he's aware of their kind of seesawing back and forth, a little bit of revenge, so a little bit of a storyline for those guys in WCS developing here.
Yeah, you go all the way back to WESG, you started to see the beginning of that rivalry form, and then all the way through WCS, we had Yon Shiping, where I think Kelazhur took him out, and then back at it again in Montreal.
Look at you go.
Yeah.
You're putting Roddy on notice right now. I like that.
Yeah, no one's supposed to know that much about StarCraft.
This guy's memory, it's
Well,
incredible.
it turns out my short-term memory from having looked up those stacks 10 seconds ago is actually on point. At some point,
Now I have in your
my and Roddy's memory actually
illusion.
converges, but only very briefly. My goldfish brain kicks in almost immediately.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that Sue highlighted some of their revenge and that Kelazhur recognizes that maybe he is back, and we'll have to keep an eye on that as the tournament unfolds. For now, that is our last series of the day.
Yeah, the respect being shown to Cyril, and I think we can say that he is the player that we will have our eyes out for tomorrow. And let's face it, on day 3 as well, most likely at the end of the tournament. Did we see anything today that suggests anyone can beat Cyril? No,
I mean, I love how we're hyping up Clem. He like took out ShoWTimE in the early group stages. He comes up and he looks very, very good. And then he goes up against Cyril, and Cyril's like, no. He is still the very best, and I think it is going to be a monumental task to take him down.
All right.
It's the nice thing about day 1. We have not seen all the players just yet. There's some other really big fish lurking out there, putting up some good results.
Yeah. Any final thoughts from either of you?
Are we really there yet? Are we though?
Day 1, final thoughts.
A good day to kind of get a relative feeling for where players are at. I wouldn't say that our games today were the A+. We got to save some of those for later. So it's been a good way to start things out. It's been my initiation up here on the desk with
Good to have
In
you here,
Control and everyone
Rapid.
else. But yeah, it's been a fun way to start the day, and I can't wait for day number 2.
Anything?
Nah, that's it.
All right.
And with that.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in here in Austin and all around the world. There's plenty more StarCraft to catch up on. I believe GSL is already on the way, if not currently going through. So go check that out. We'll be here tomorrow, bright and early, to get on with day 2 of WCS Austin.